Hi, it's Leonie West from Westalee Design, and I'm going to show you how we work with our Spinefex curly cues. The curly cues come from 11.5 inches and go down to 1.5. This is an 8.5 and a 5.5. The curly cues are a template where we are going to work inside the template. We need to get our hopping foot into the template, and we make our templates with a key. So we can place our foot in through the gate. We can then put the key into place. When we stitch along our template, we won't get a bump where we normally would if we just had a gate opening. I like to put a piece of tape on my templates to hold the key in place. When using the Spinefex tools, I mark crosshairs on my quilt, and I've marked from the diagonals across the block. These give me lines to reference my markings on my tool. So I can turn the template, stitching on each of those lines. I can use the lines in between. And when I use the lines in between, I can go from 4 curly cues to 8 curly cues, and then fill in the spaces, and I will have 16 curly cues in the block. So I'm going to sew up onto this line. So I'm lining up my template so that my foot is in the centre and my crosshair lines reference with the template markings. So here we go. We're just going to sew up the template around. With the curly cue, we can sew at the top where we actually form a circle in at the top, or where we stop and don't have a complete circle, which is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to stop at that centre line on the crosshairs, and then we will sew back all the way back to the beginning. Once we reach the beginning, I'm going to stop, I'm going to turn my template, and I'm going to turn it 180 degrees. Line up my reference points again with my crosshairs, and then keep going. Remember, when you're using templates, that you do not sew as fast as if you were free motioning. Run at a nice steady speed, and you may need to relocate your hands depending on what you're comfortable with, and come back and around. We want to have a nice pressure on our template. We don't want to be pressing so that we are actually slowing down our machine. And our template pushes into our foot, and our foot pushes into our template. Back to the centre. I'm now going to do the next one on the 90-degree angle, aligning my reference points again. With the curly cues, if I want, I could stop at the top here, flip my template over, and create a different pattern, which we will show you in another video. And we're back to the centre, stopping in that centre point. Rotate the template again. Make sure we're lined up at the top as well. The curly cues I find are really easy to use. The template really does the work for me. But with the curly cues, there are many different ways which you can use the curly cues to design your own patterns. You can use them for filling in a block. You can make them so they are, as this one will form a complete circle of curly cues. Or I could just use them on a border where I'm only working in a half or a quarter of a template. So now that I've done those, I'm going to change the size of the template. So I've changed the template to the 8.5 inch template. and I'm going to work on the 45-degree lines that come out. So these are the lines that I'm going to use as my reference points. And I'm just going to do the same as we did before. I could have worked this design using just the 11.5-inch template, but I thought it'd be nice to have a different size to show you that how the different sizes work. Turn it round again 180 degrees, lining up my reference points, and away we go. Back to the centre, rotate the template, lining up those reference points again. Remember, as you're moving your foot around the template, you will find different positions which are comfortable for you to hold in, and move your hands whenever you need to. So that's my 8 curly cues sewn into here. Remove the key, take away the template, and I'm now going to put a smaller one in. Okay, we're going to now sew the 5.5-inch curly cue, and I'm lining up my points again. This time, when I rotate, I'm going to actually rotate using the lines, and I'm going to do a 2-line movement, and I'm actually going to go all the way around in a circle motion this time. Back to the centre. So this is my reference point. I'm now going to move it to this reference point. And I always have 4 points to check. And we'll just complete this block. And this is our second last curly cue for this design. Making sure that we're realigned again back on our lines. Back to the centre, remove the template, and that is one of the ways in which you can use the curly cues.